Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm getting this question quite a lot right now, whether I should get Mac or Windows. And I've realized it's hard to answer that question if you've been always using Mac or Windows without being biased. So I'll try to answer this question without being biased, what you should get based on what your needs are. So I've personally used both Mac and Windows at work, and you probably see, or whenever you're applying for jobs, a lot of companies they are using Mac. And the reason to that is because a lot of systems these days, they're based on a Unix environment, which is something that is Mac built on. So me as a full stack developer, whenever I work on a backend side using PHP, Node.js or Python, depending on what it is, most of the time or all the time, I'm using Linux commands in order to do specific tasks, run things, or whenever I'm dealing with data just to test things out. So the one good thing about Mac is, as I'm gonna get it, it's already ready for me out of the box. It's Unix based, which means that if I want to work on some sort of a web application project, it's not gonna be any problem for me to set things up because I already know Linux commands. And as developers, that is the most common things we like to use in command line or terminal. But with Windows, it's not quite the same thing. However, they did come quite a long way to where they are today. And one of the things I like about them right now is they have this new thing called WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. And what it allows me to do is, instead of me double booting into my Linux environment or setting up a virtual machine, I can just simply run all of my web application development in that environment. And I don't have to double boot into anything, allocate any space, memory for the specific process. And it's production ready, to be honest. I've used that for my clients, for my personal project at work as well. And the reason why I want to point that out is because when you'll be choosing a computer, you'll realize that Mac is much more expensive compared to Windows. And the argument people made sometimes is, yeah, like Mac is expensive, however, it lasts me for a longer period of time, and I'm getting much more value out of it. And by value, I mean is if I do want to resell it, I'll be able to keep the 70 or 80% of the original price. So later when I'll decide to go from one Mac to another, I'm just gonna pay extra $100 to $200, so whatever the amount will be, and I'll have a brand new Mac laptop. But to be honest, for me personally, as a developer, what I want to get out of my machine is performance. And why is that important is, I did a small calculation on how much I spend time currently on whenever I turn on my computer. I don't need to start up my backend environment, like if it's a Docker, or the worst case scenario, if I'm using VM virtual machine. You'll notice that it does take a little bit of time to get that thing running. And let's just do a simple calculation on that. Let's say it takes you about a minute, depending on what machine is. You're spending a minute a day running your machine or setting up your environment, and you're doing this every day. So let's say you've been spending 7 minutes a week doing that, but that's just one specific process that you do a week. So let's say that some other process right now, let's say you're dealing with a big data. If you're working with data analysis, you'll have thousands and millions of records that you're trying to process, analyze. And if you have only 8 gigs of RAM and 256 SSD, that's not enough for you. You'll be spending like hours trying to go through all that data. But if instead of spending like $1,500 on 8 gigs of RAM, you could spend $1,000 on a machine that will have 32 gigs of memory, 1 terabyte of storage minimum. And sure, maybe I can use this type of a hardware for 2 to 3 years, but in that period of time, as a developer, I was able to save a lot of time. And if you're planning to do a freelance work, and let's say you're taking on 3 to 4 clients a month, and when you'll be doing work for clients, what you want is performance out of it, because you'll be paid hourly. And if you're going to spend all of your time just sitting, waiting until your machine does something, compiles code just to check if the bug is there or not, or whatever it is, you're just wasting time, which it comes to money. That's why, like, whenever you're looking at something when you buy is, not in terms of, okay, I'll be able to sell my computer in the X number of years, or I'll have to buy new parts for this PC next couple of years. To me, what I look at is how much time of my time I have to spend on coding or for specific client. And by the way, the drink I'm having right now is called Bubbly. It's a really good gas water. It's not Coke, no sugar, but actually I'm going to be investing money into this machine that just you put water in, just makes it into gas. Much cheaper, good investment. I recommend for you guys to stay healthy too. That's a good stuff. And to be fair, back in 2012, when I went to school for computer degree, I did get Mac laptop because I knew it's gonna last me for a longer time, or at least until the time I finish up with the program. And when I did finish with the program, I went to work, I received a Dell XPS laptop, and it was a pretty cool laptop to be fair, because you could still change RAM in there. So I received as 8 gigs of RAM, and me and the tech lead were able to change it to 16 or 32 gigs of RAM. I'm not entirely sure. I think it was 16. And I was using at first Windows operating system. Then I downloaded the boot into Ubuntu 16.0 LTS version. And I used both of them time to time. I want to experience on which one was best, Ubuntu, Linux, or using Windows at a time. And even though it's not something that you should be doing, but I was doing that on my leisure time because I really want to compare, because back then I was just a junior and I want to get my feet wet with both of those operating systems, so then I can get an opinion, a personal opinion or personal experience on both of those technologies. So then I can make a final decision on what do I want to stick with, a Linux system or Windows. And I kind of really liked Windows because even though I still had to do a little bit of more maintenance or set it up when I was getting it, but I was able to get a lot more performance out of it. And luckily in 2016, that's when they introduced WSL, which wasn't ready for production use, to be honest. But back in 2019, that's when they went to WSL version 2. And that's when it really took off. That's when I converted into Windows completely. But not to say Mac is a great computer. It's just something that if you are working with budget on what type of a computer you want to get, and you do want to get performance out of it right out of the door, PC is definitely, Windows is definitely the way to go. But if you do have extra money laying down in your bank and you're okay with spending an extra $1, then Mac is definitely a good option for you, because you can just spend extra money and you'll still be getting good performance out of it later. Well, depending on how much money you spend on it or what type of a hardware you have in there. And you'll be able to do all kinds of work in there. But if you're planning to do a game development, then Windows is definitely a thing you should be getting into. But if you're planning to do iOS development or Apple development specifically, then Apple is definitely a good investment for you, because they use a specific IDE Xcode, and that is something you cannot install on Windows. So for me personally, if I want to develop some iOS applications, I won't be able to. But again, it's all depending also on what your use case is. What are you buying for? Is it web development, game development? Are you looking into playing video games? And to be fair, if you're planning to be a game developer, playing games is not a bad thing, because then you'll be getting experience on, okay, how does this specific engine works in this specific game? So that's where you'll be doing a research. But it's all up to you what type of a computer you want to get. So let me know in the comment below, what type of computer are you planning to get? What is it for? And I'll definitely be able to read them, help you out to make a decision. And if you're not sure where to buy a computer, a PC, or you're not sure where to find specific parts, let me know as well, because I do have a few resources that I'm currently using it to build out my own PC at the moment. I hope you got the value out of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.